The alarm screamed through the corridors of the Zephorian research station. Red lights flashed in every room as the massive alien structure shook from another explosion. Commander Vextar's scaled hands gripped the metal, railing as he watched the battle rage outside through the thick windows. 3 days. 3 whole days the human ship had been fighting them. One small fighter against an entire battle fleet. It should have been over in minutes, but the human pilot was unlike anything they had ever faced. "Commander," the voice of his second officer Thyses cut through the noise. "The human ship is losing power. Its weapons are failing." Vextar's yellow eyes narrowed as he watched the small Earth vessel drift between the burning wreckage of 6 Zephyrian destroyers. 6 of their best ships destroyed by one human fighter. The thought made his blood run cold, but also excited him. If they could capture this pilot alive, they would learn the secrets of human warfare. "Prepare the capture beam," Vextar ordered. "I want that ship and its pilot intact." The blue beam shot out from their station, wrapping around the damaged human fighter like a giant hand. Slowly, carefully, they pulled it into their docking bay. Vextar and a squad of armed guards rushed to meet their prize. The human ship was smaller than he had expected. Black metal scarred by laser burns and plasma strikes. It looked almost fragile, yet it had destroyed ships 10 times its size. As the cockpit opened with a soft hiss, Vextar held his breath. The pilot who climbed out was not what he had imagined. She was small, even for a human, with short dark hair and calm brown eyes. Her flight suit was torn in several places, and blood ran from a cut on her forehead. But she stood straight and looked directly at Vextar without fear. "Captain Sarah Chun, Earth Defense Corps," she said in perfect Zephyrian language. "Serial number 7-7-Alpha-9-2. Vextar stepped closer, studying this creature that had caused so much damage. "I am Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian hegemony. You are now our prisoner." The human woman smiled slightly. "I know who you are, Commander. Your reputation goes before you." This surprised Vextar. Few aliens knew of him, and fewer still would speak so calmly while surrounded by armed guards. "You destroyed 6 of our ships. How?" "Training," Chun said simply. "Training does not explain how one pilot can defeat so many. Your ship's weapons are not superior to ours. Your armor is thinner. Your engines are smaller. Yet you won." Chun looked around at the guards, pointing their weapons at her. "May I ask where you're taking me?" Vextar felt a surge of satisfaction. The human was trying to change the subject, which meant she was hiding something important. "You will be taken to our most secure facility. There, you will tell us everything about Earth's military secrets. And if I refuse?" "Refusal is not possible. We have ways of extracting information that no species has ever resisted." Chun nodded slowly, as if this was exactly what she had expected to hear. "I see. And this facility, it's very secure?" "The most secure in all of hegemony space. It orbits a dying star, far from any shipping lanes. No rescue is possible across such distances. No one will find you there." For some reason, this seemed to please the human. Her smile grew wider. "Perfect." Something about her reaction bothered Vextar, but he pushed the feeling aside. The human was probably just trying to appear brave in front of her captors. It was a common response among prisoners. "Take her to the holding cell," he ordered his guards. "Prepare her for transport to Station Omega-7. As the guards led Chen away, Vextar turned to his communications officer. "Send word to the Hegemony High Command. Tell them we have captured a human fighter pilot. Request immediate transport to the interrogation facility." "Yes, Commander." "Shall I also report our losses?" Vextar's jaw tightened. 6 destroyers lost to capture 1 human. The Council would not be pleased. "Report that we achieved our objective." The losses were acceptable. Hours later, as Chun was loaded aboard a prisoner transport ship, Vexstar watched from the observation deck. Something still bothered him about her reaction to the news about Station Omega-7. She had seemed almost relieved to hear that it was isolated and secure. "Commander," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving reports from our scout ships. They've been scanning the area for any signs of human rescue forces. And? Nothing, sir. No ships, no signals, no activity at all. It appears Earth has made no attempt to rescue their pilot." This should have been good news, but somehow it made Vexstar feel worse. In all his years of fighting various alien species, he had never encountered any military that would simply abandon one of their pilots. Especially not one as skilled as Chun. "Keep scanning," he ordered. "Humans are clever. They may be planning something." But as the hours passed and the transport ship carrying Chun jumped to hyperspace, the scanners showed nothing. No rescue fleet, no stealth ships, no communication attempts. Earth had simply let their pilot go in the transport ship's holding cell. Chun sat quietly on the metal bench. Her hands were bound with energy shackles, and force fields blocked every exit. 2 guards watched her constantly, but she didn't seem worried or scared. If anything, she looked patient, like someone waiting for a scheduled appointment. "Human," one of the guards said, "why aren't you afraid? Your people have abandoned you." Chun looked up at the reptilian guard and smiled that same calm smile. "Have they? Our scanners show no rescue ships. Earth has left you to die." "Earth doesn't abandon its people," Chun said quietly. "Earth removes problems." The guard didn't understand what she meant, but something about the way she said it made his scales crawl with unease. "What problems?" Chun leaned back against the wall and closed her eyes. "You'll see." The transport ship continued its journey towards Station Omega-7, carrying its precious cargo through the dark space between stars. Behind them, the Zephyrian research station maintained its position, proud of their successful capture. None of them noticed the small changes beginning to happen in the outer regions of their territory. A cargo ship here, a mining station there, simply stopping their regular communications. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that would cause alarm. Just the first signs that Earth had indeed sent something to deal with their problem. Something much worse than a rescue fleet. Station Omega-7 hung in the darkness like a metal spider, its long arms reaching out toward the dying red star that gave it light. The star was old and weak, barely providing enough energy to keep the station running. But that was exactly why the Zephyrians had chosen this location. Nothing lived here. Nothing traveled here. It was the perfect place to break prisoners who refused to talk. Chun's transport ship docked at the station 3 days after her capture. She was immediately taken to Detention Block 7, the most secure section of the facility. Her cell was a small room with metal walls, no windows, and a single bed. A force field hummed across the entrance, and cameras watched her every movement. Dr. Zenth, the station's chief interrogator, came to see her within an hour. He was older than most Zephyrians, with gray scales and sharp yellow eyes that had seen many prisoners break under questioning. "I am Dr. Zenth," he said, standing outside her cell. "I will be conducting your interrogation." Chun sat on her bed, looking perfectly comfortable. "Hello, Doctor. I'd heard about your work. Very thorough, from what I understand." Zenth was surprised. Most prisoners were either angry or afraid when they first arrived. Chun seemed almost friendly. "You know of me? Earth keeps files on all major hegemony officials. Your success rate with prisoners is quite impressive. 97%, isn't it?" 98.4%. Zenth corrected automatically, then wondered why he had answered. Something about this human made him want to talk to her. "You seem remarkably calm for someone in your situation." Chun smiled. I'm exactly where I need to be, Doctor. This response bothered Zenth more than he cared to admit. In 40 years of interrogating prisoners, he had never met one who claimed to want to be captured. We will begin tomorrow. I suggest you prepare yourself. The next morning, Zenth began with physical interrogation. Chun was strapped to a metal chair while electric currents ran through her body. Most aliens would be screaming within minutes, but Chun simply gritted her teeth and endured it. After 2 hours, Zenth stopped in frustration. Pain doesn't work on humans the way it does on other species, Chun said, breathing hard but still coherent. You'll need to try something else. Zenth tried drugs next. Powerful chemicals that should have made her tell the truth about everything. But Chun's body processed them differently than expected. Instead of becoming cooperative, she became drowsy and unhelpful. Human biology is interesting, she mumbled during one session. We adapted to survive on a world that kept trying to kill us. Makes us hard to break. On the third day, Zenth brought in a psychic interrogator named Morth. The creature looked like a giant brain with tentacles, floating in a tank of pink fluid. Its mental powers were supposed to be able to read any mind and extract any memory. Morth's tentacles pressed against the glass as it tried to enter Chun's thoughts. For several minutes, it probed and pushed, trying to find a way into her consciousness. Then it suddenly pulled back with what sounded like pain. Our mind, Morth gasped through its translator. It's compartmentalized, locked. I cannot penetrate the barriers. What kind of barriers? Zenth demanded. Military conditioning. But unlike anything I've encountered, it's as if her thoughts are stored in separate boxes, and I can only open one at a time. Most of them contain nothing useful. Chun opened her eyes and looked at the psychic creature. Earth takes very good care of its soldiers, Dr. Zenth. We don't break easily. As the days turned into weeks, Zenth grew more frustrated. Nothing worked on the human. She answered some questions freely, but they were always things Earth wouldn't mind the hegemony knowing. Important secrets remained locked away. Meanwhile, disturbing reports began reaching the station. A mining colony in the outer rim had gone silent. Then a cargo ship disappeared between two star systems. A research outpost stopped responding to communications. Probably pirates, said Commander Crow, the station's military officer. Or equipment failures. Space is dangerous. But Chun seemed to know about these incidents before the reports even reached the station. During one interrogation session, she casually mentioned that the hegemony had lost contact with Outpost Delta 9. How did you know that? Zenth demanded. That report hasn't been distributed yet. Lucky guess, Chun said. That night, Zenth couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Chun's calm confidence and her strange knowledge of events. Finally, he went to her cell to confront her. What is really happening out there? He asked. Chun was sitting cross-legged on her bed, perfectly relaxed. You're starting to understand, aren't you, Doctor? Understand what? That capturing me wasn't a victory. It was a mistake. Zenth felt his scales crawl with unease. Explain. Earth doesn't negotiate for prisoners, Doctor. We don't mount rescue operations. We don't bargain or beg. When someone takes one of our people, we simply remove the problem. Remove what problem? Chen's smile was cold and patient. Everyone who knows where I am. Everyone who participated in my capture. Everyone who might have learned something from interrogating me. Earth removes all of it. That's impossible. We have thousands of people across dozens of worlds who know about your location. Had, Doctor. Past tense. Zenth stared at her in growing horror. You're saying Earth is killing everyone who knows about you. Not killing, Chung corrected gently. Removing. There's a difference. Before Zenth could ask what she meant, an alarm began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed as Commander Krell's voice echoed through the corridors. All personnel to battle stations. We have lost contact with the outer perimeter. Unknown threat approaching. Zenth looked at Chun, who hadn't moved or shown any surprise at the alarms. What's coming? He whispered. Chun closed her eyes and leaned back against the wall. Something worse than death, Doctor. Something much worse than death. The lights flickered as the station's defensive systems powered up. Outside, the dying star continued to burn its weak red light across the metal hull. But something was moving in that darkness between the stars. Something that the sensors couldn't detect and the weapons couldn't target. Something that had been systematically working its way through hegemony space, erasing every trace of Chun's capture and everyone connected to it. And now it had found Station Omega-7 in her cell. Chun smiled and waited patiently for Earth's solution to arrive. Admiral Korthek stood in the command center of the hegemony's main military base, staring at the holographic display that showed their territory. Red dots marked where outposts, ships, and colonies had gone silent over the past month. At first, there had been only a few scattered incidents. Now entire sectors were dark. Show me the pattern again, he ordered his intelligence officer. A thin Zephyrian named Voss thought the hologram changed, showing the timeline of disappearances. One by one, red dots appeared on the map, starting from the outer rim and slowly working inward. Each dot represented hundreds or thousands of lives that had simply vanished without a trace. The progression is methodical, Voss reported, his voice shaking slightly. Not random attacks or natural disasters. Someone is systematically eliminating our people. Korthek studied the pattern with growing dread. In 50 years of military service, he had never seen anything like it. What connects these locations? That's what troubles me, Admiral. We've analyzed every possible connection. Trade routes, military importance, resource value, strategic position. Nothing makes sense. There has to be something. Voss hesitated, then highlighted a small group of dots on the map. There is one connection, sir, but it seems impossible. Show me. The map zoomed in on Station Omega-7, showing its isolated position near the dying star. Lines appeared, connecting it to each of the disappeared locations. Every vanished outpost had at least one person who knew about the human prisoner's location. Korthek felt his blood turn cold. That's impossible. The prisoner's location is classified at the highest levels. Yes, sir, but look at this. Voss brought up personnel files. Outpost Delta 9. Commander Threx received the prisoner transfer orders. Mining Station Beta 4. Captain Yo was briefed on the capture for security purposes. Research Colony 7. Dr. Neth helped analyze the human fighter's technology. The list went on and on. Every disappeared location had some connection, however small, to Chun's capture and imprisonment. People who had processed orders, analyzed data, provided supplies, or simply been briefed about the operation. How many people knew? Korthek asked quietly. Across all levels of classification? Nearly 15,000 individuals spread across 47 locations. Korthek walked to the window and stared out at the stars. How many of those locations are still responding? Voss was quiet for a long moment. 11, sir. 11 out of 47. In just 1 month, something had systematically erased 36 military installations and everyone in them. No distress signals, no wreckage, no evidence they had ever existed except for records in the central database. Admiral, another officer called from across the room. We're receiving a priority message from Station Omega-7. Dr. Zenth reports unusual phenomena around the facility. Put him through. Dr. Zenth's scaled face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, alarms were flashing and crew members were running back and forth. Admiral, we need immediate evacuation. Something is happening to space around the station. Explain. The stars, sir. They're disappearing. Not being blocked or dimmed. Actually disappearing. Our sensors show empty space where stellar objects used to be. Korthik gripped the railing in front of him. That's scientifically impossible. I know, sir. But 15 star systems in our immediate area have simply vanished in the past 6 hours. Whatever is responsible is working its way toward us. Have you detected any ships or weapons? Nothing, Admiral. Our best sensors show nothing approaching. But every few hours, another star system just stops existing. In the background of the transmission, Commander Krell's voice could be heard shouting orders. All defensive systems online. Prepare for immediate evacuation. Zenth looked directly at the camera. Admiral, I believe this is connected to the human prisoner. She's been acting strange, like she's waiting for something. And she seems to know things before they happen. What kind of things? She told me this morning that we had lost 3 more outposts. The reports didn't reach us until an hour later. Korthik felt a chill run down his spine. Put me through to her cell. The transmission switched to show Chun sitting calmly on her bed. Around her, the force field that served as her door was flickering and sparking. She looked directly at the camera with those disturbing human eyes. Hello, Admiral Korthik, she said before he could speak. I was wondering when you'd call. What is happening to our territory? Chun smiled that same patient smile she had worn since her capture. Earth is solving a problem. What problem? You took something that belonged to us. Now Earth is removing everyone who participated in that theft. By destroying entire star systems, that's impossible. No weapon can eliminate matter itself. Chun tilted her head slightly, like a teacher explaining something to a slow student. Who said anything about weapons, Admiral? Before Korthik could ask what she meant, the transmission from Station Omega-7 cut to static. In the command center, every officer turned to stare at him with fear in their eyes. Status report, Korthik ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. The station's transponder signal just vanished, sir, reported the communications officer. It's not responding to any frequencies. Send a scout ship to investigate. Sir, that system is 12 light years away. It will take 3 days to reach it. Korthik nodded grimly. By then, whatever had taken Station Omega-7 would probably be long gone. He turned back to the tactical display, studying the pattern of disappearances. Voss, how many people in this command center know about the prisoner? Everyone here was briefed on the operation, sir. About 40 personnel. And how many people at headquarters know? Several hundred, Admiral. The operation was classified, but many departments were involved. Korthik stared at the map, watching the red dots spread closer and closer to their current location. Whatever Earth had sent wasn't just eliminating random targets. It was methodically working through a list, removing every person and every place connected to Chun's capture. Admiral, the communications officer called out. We're getting reports from across the fleet. 3 more bases have gone silent in the past hour. Korthik looked at the updated map. The pattern was accelerating, moving faster as it approached the core worlds. At this rate, every installation in hegemony space would be gone within days. Sir, Voss said quietly, there's something else. We've been monitoring communications from our remaining outposts. Several have reported that their personnel are starting to forget things. What kind of things? Details about the prisoner operation. Names of people who were involved. Some can't remember receiving orders about it at all. The implications hit Korthik like a physical blow. Not only was Earth eliminating everyone connected to Chun's capture, but somehow it was also erasing their memories of the event, as if the operation had never happened at all. Admiral, another officer interrupted. Long-range sensors are detecting anomalous readings in the Zeta sector. Korthik looked at the map. The Zeta sector contained their primary shipyards and 3 million civilians. It was also where many of the personnel involved in analyzing Chun's fighter technology were stationed. What kind of anomalous readings space itself appears to be unraveling, sir. On the main screen, they watched as an entire region of space began to fade from their sensors. Stars, planets, asteroids, everything simply ceased to register as existing. It was as if reality itself was being erased, one piece at a time, and it was heading directly for their location. Dr. Zenth found himself in a place that shouldn't exist. Station Omega-7 was gone. He knew that much, but somehow he was still walking through its corridors. The walls flickered between solid metal and empty space, and his footsteps echoed strangely, as if the sound was forgetting how to work properly. He wasn't sure how long he had been walking. Time seemed broken here, flowing backward and forward without reason. Sometimes he remembered being in his laboratory. Sometimes he was back in his childhood home. And sometimes he was in places he had never been at all. The only constant was Chun. No matter where he wandered in this impossible space, he always found her cell. She was still there, sitting on her bed, completely unaffected by whatever was happening around them. The force field across her door had disappeared, but she hadn't moved. "Dr. Zenth," she said, as he approached her cell for what might have been the 10th time. "You're looking confused. What is happening to us?" he asked, though he wasn't sure if he had asked this question before. "You're being removed," Chun said simply. "It's a process. Takes a little time." "Removed how? By what?" Chun gestured for him to sit down on the floor outside her cell. Somehow, despite everything that was wrong with reality, this felt natural and safe. "Earth doesn't use conventional weapons, Doctor. We learned long ago that killing enemies just creates more enemies. Death makes martyrs. Death leaves evidence. Then how? We erase them. Completely. Not just their bodies or their minds, but their entire existence. Everything they ever were, everything they ever did, every trace that they ever existed at all." Zenth felt his scaled hand shaking. "That's impossible. You can't destroy the past, can't we?" Chun smiled sadly. "Doctor, what do you remember about your childhood?" Without thinking, Zenth began to answer, then stopped. His early memories were fuzzy, like looking through dirty glass. He could remember some things, but other parts were just gone. There are gaps. Those gaps are getting bigger, aren't they? Soon you won't remember being a child at all. Then you won't remember your education, your first job, meeting your colleagues. Eventually, you won't even remember being born. But I'm still here. I'm still talking to you. For now. But you're not really here, Doctor. None of this is real anymore. Station Omega-7 was erased 6 hours ago. You died 6 hours ago. What you're experiencing now is just an echo, a brief moment before the universe forgets you completely. Zenth looked around at the flickering walls and impossible geometry. An echo of what? Of yourself. Earth's weapon doesn't just destroy matter and energy. It destroys information, the quantum patterns that define existence itself. But it takes time to work backward through causality, erasing every trace of a person's impact on reality. Why are you telling me this? Chun's expression grew sad. Because you deserve to understand. You were just doing your job. You didn't know what you were getting involved in. What am I involved in? A war, Doctor. Not between species or governments, but between different ideas about how the universe should work. Earth learned something during our development that most species never figure out. What? That reality is much more fragile than it appears. Matter, energy, space, time, causality itself, it's all just information. And information can be edited. Zenth felt a strange sensation, like parts of his body were becoming less solid. When he looked down at his hands, they seemed translucent. How long do I have? Not long. The erasure field reached this system about an hour ago. It's working its way through everything connected to your existence. Your homeworld, your family, your academic records, every person you ever met who might remember you. My family? Xanth tried to remember their faces, but found only vague impressions. I had a family? You did? But they're being erased too, because they were part of your life, and your life was connected to my capture. Earth is very thorough. This is monstrous. Chun nodded. Yes, it is. Earth became monstrous a long time ago, Doctor. We had to. Our world tried to kill us for millions of years. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, climate changes. We survived by becoming the most dangerous thing in our environment. But this goes beyond survival. This is the destruction of entire civilizations. Yes, and we do it casually, Doctor. The way you might delete a file from a computer. To Earth, the hegemony isn't an enemy to be defeated. You're a problem to be corrected. Xanth felt more of himself fading away. His memories of recent years were becoming unclear. Why aren't you being erased? Because I'm not really here either. I'm just a quantum echo like you. But I have protection. Chun held up her arm, showing him a small device embedded in her skin. Quantum shielding. It preserves my information pattern even while everything else around me is being deleted. Then you'll survive? This version of me? No. The real Chun was erased along with the station. But Earth will receive my final memories through quantum entanglement. They'll know that the mission was successful. What mission? Chun looked at him with something like pity. I wasn't captured, Doctor. I was delivered. Earth sent me here specifically to be taken prisoner, specifically to be brought to your most secure facility. Why? Because you have such good records. Every person who worked on my case, every location they visited, every family member they contacted. The hegemony's bureaucracy created a perfect map of everyone connected to my capture. A target list. Exactly. And now Earth is working through that list, removing every entry. When it's finished, the hegemony won't just be defeated. It will never have existed at all. Xanth felt his legs disappearing. He was just a floating torso now, his lower body already forgotten by the universe. How many of us are there like you? How many delivery packages has Earth sent out? Chen's smile was terrible in its gentleness. Thousands, Doctor. All across the galaxy. Every major civilization that has shown hostility to Earth has received their own packages. Some are prisoners like me. Others are diplomats, refugees, students, traders. All of them carrying the same quantum transmitters, all of them mapping the societies they encounter. The entire galaxy will be much more peaceful once Earth is finished with its house cleaning. Only the civilizations that showed friendship to humanity will remain. The aggressive ones, the ones that tried to conquer or enslave or destroy human colonies, they'll all be edited out of reality. Xanth tried to speak, but found that he no longer had a mouth. His existence was reduced to floating consciousness, barely held together by fading memories. Around them, the last echoes of Station Omega 7 were dissolving into nothing. I'm sorry, Doctor, Chun said, though her voice seemed to come from very far away. You seemed like a decent person. In a different universe, we might have been friends. The last thing Xanth experienced was a moment of perfect clarity. He saw the full scope of what Earth had done, not just to him or his station or even his species, but to the entire galaxy. Reality itself was being rewritten, edited like a document, with entire civilizations deleted to make room for a cleaner, safer universe. Then even that understanding faded away. And Dr. Xanth had never existed at all. Chun sat alone in a cell that wasn't there anymore, in a station that had been forgotten by space and time. Soon she too would fade away, her mission complete. But first, her quantum transmitters would send one final message to Earth. Package delivered. Hegemony military command structure compromised. Beginning secondary objectives. The message traveled instantaneously across space, carried by quantum entanglement to similar devices hidden in thousands of other operatives across the galaxy. The great work of editing reality would continue, one civilization at a time, until only Earth's allies remained to remember how the universe had been. Admiral Korthik stood in what used to be the command center of Hegemony High Command. Around him, reality was breaking down in small but terrifying ways. The floor beneath his feet felt solid, but sometimes his boots would pass right through it. The walls flickered between metal and empty space. His officers moved like ghosts, their forms becoming less distinct with each passing hour. Admiral called Communications Officer Vess, though her voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. We're still receiving reports from the outer sectors. Korthik turned to look at her, but her face was becoming harder to see, like looking at someone through thick fog. What reports? Ships are reporting that their crews are forgetting their missions. Colony administrators can't remember why their settlements were established. Some naval captains have forgotten which species they're supposed to be fighting. Korthik tried to access his own memories and found disturbing gaps. He could remember being a military officer, but the details of his career were becoming unclear. Wars he had fought in were now just vague impressions. Victories that had once filled him with pride were fading like old dreams. "Sir," called another officer whose name Korthik suddenly couldn't recall. "We're detecting the phenomenon approaching our position. Estimated time until it reaches us is 30 minutes. Through the main view screen, Korthik could see space itself changing. Stars were winking out of existence, not exploding or dimming, but simply ceasing to be there. Entire nebulae were fading away like paintings being erased. Even the cosmic background radiation was becoming patchy and incomplete. "What are our orders, Admiral?" asked someone. Korthik turned to answer, but found he couldn't remember the speaker's rank or position. In fact, he was becoming uncertain about his own authority to give orders at all. I need to check something," Korthik said, walking unsteadily toward the data terminal. His legs felt strange, like they were only partially connected to his body. He accessed the military database, searching for information about the human prisoner who had started all this. But the files were corrupted, filled with gaps and inconsistencies. Records that should have contained detailed information instead showed empty fields. Personnel lists had names missing, sometimes entire sections deleted. "The database is degrading," he said to no one in particular. "Our entire military history is being erased, sir," called a voice, but when Korthik looked around, he couldn't see who had spoken. He tried to remember the human prisoner's name, but it slipped away from him like water through his fingers. Chun? Had that been her name? Or was he thinking of someone else entirely? The more he tried to focus on the memory, the more it faded. "Admiral Korthik," a calm voice said behind him. He turned and saw a human woman sitting in a chair that hadn't been there moments before. She was small and unremarkable, wearing what looked like a military uniform. Her dark eyes were kind but somehow terrible at the same time. "You," Korthik whispered, though he wasn't sure how he knew who she was. "Hello, Admiral. I thought I should explain what's happening to you, since you're going to be one of the last to fade away. You're the prisoner. The one we captured." Chun nodded. "I was. Though captured isn't quite the right word. I was delivered to your people, just like thousands of others were delivered to civilizations across the galaxy." "Delivered for what purpose?" "To map your society, to identify everyone connected to aggression against Earth, to provide targeting data for our cleanup operation." Korthik felt his anger rising, but it was a distant emotion, like something he was remembering rather than experiencing. You're committing genocide on a galactic scale. No, Chun said gently. Genocide leaves bodies, graves, records, evidence that people existed and were killed. What we're doing is much more complete than that. Then what do you call it? Editing. We're editing the universe to remove harmful elements, like correcting mistakes in a document. Around them, more of the command center was fading away. Control panels became transparent, then disappeared entirely. Officers continued their duties for a few moments after their workstations vanished, then looked around in confusion before they too began to fade. This is impossible, Korthik said. You can't change the past. You can't make things that existed never exist at all. Can't we? Chun smiled sadly. Admiral, what do you remember about your species' first contact with Earth? Korthik tried to answer, but found his memories frustratingly vague. He could remember that contact had been made, but the details were missing. Had it been peaceful? Hostile? He couldn't say for certain. You attacked our colony ships, Chun said. Destroyed 3 settlements and killed 50,000 civilians. Your people thought humans would be easy prey. That doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like anything to you anymore, because we're removing it from history. Soon, the Zephyrian hegemony will never have made contact with Earth at all. In fact, the Zephyrian hegemony will never have existed. Korthik looked down at his hands and saw they were becoming translucent. He could see through them to the floor below, which itself was becoming less solid. How is this possible? Reality is just information, Admiral. Quantum patterns, probability waves, mathematical relationships. Earth learned to manipulate those patterns directly. We don't destroy things. We convince the universe that they were never there to begin with. That's terrifying. Yes, it is. Earth became terrifying because it had to. Our world was hostile to life. Predators, diseases, climate changes, asteroid impacts. We survived by becoming more dangerous than anything that threatened us. But this goes beyond survival. This is the elimination of free will, of choice, of the right to exist. Chun nodded. From your perspective, yes. From Earth's perspective, we're creating a safer universe. One where aggressive species can't threaten peaceful ones. By deleting anyone who disagrees with you. By removing problems before they become threats. The civilizations that survive will be the ones that showed friendship to humanity. The ones that chose cooperation over conquest. Korthik felt his legs disappearing. The sensation wasn't painful, just empty, like parts of himself were being forgotten by reality itself. What about redemption? What about the chance to change? Earth tried that approach for centuries. We offered peace treaties, diplomatic solutions, second chances. Do you know what it got us? More attacks, more dead colonists, more wars. So you decided to play God. We decided to solve the problem permanently. No more wars, Admiral. No more suffering. Just a clean, peaceful galaxy where the survivors can prosper. Around them, the last vestiges of the command center were fading away. The other officers were gone now, erased so completely that Korthik couldn't even remember their names. Soon, he would forget that they had ever existed at all. How many species have you eliminated? He asked. 47 aggressive civilizations. 12 more being processed currently. When we're finished, the galaxy will have about half its current population, but those who remain will be the peaceful ones. The ones who submit to Earth. The ones who choose cooperation over domination. Admiral, do you know what your people called humans in your military reports? Korthik tried to remember, but found only echoes. Something about weakness? Soft targets. Easy prey. Your analysts thought our peaceful colonies made us vulnerable. Chun's expression grew cold. They were wrong. Our colonies were bait. Every peaceful settlement your people attacked was transmitting data back to Earth, mapping your military structure, identifying your leadership, cataloging your capabilities. The colonies were willing sacrifices. Each person who died there knew their death would provide targeting data for this operation. Earth doesn't wage war, Admiral. Earth solves problems. Korthik felt his consciousness fragmenting. Parts of his identity were simply missing now, deleted from reality like files from a computer. Will anyone remember us? Earth will remember. We keep detailed records of what we edit out, just in case we need to reference it later. But in the official reality, the Zephyrian hegemony will never have existed. Your worlds will be empty space. Your colonies will never have been founded. Your people will never have been born. That's worse than death. Chun nodded. Much worse. Death leaves traces. Memories, records, graves, genetic legacy. What we do leaves nothing. It's as if you never were. The last sensation Korthik experienced was a moment of perfect understanding. He saw the full scope of Earth's operation across the galaxy. Hundreds of agents like Chun, delivered to aggressive civilizations as prisoners, diplomats, refugees, students. Each one mapping the society that received them, identifying targets for erasure. The galaxy was being systematically cleaned, edited, improved. Soon, only the peaceful species would remain. All of them grateful to Earth for protecting them from the aggressive civilizations that they would never remember existing. Then, even that understanding faded away, and Admiral Korthik had never been born. Chun sat alone in empty space, surrounded by the quantum echoes of a command center that had been forgotten by the universe. Her mission here was complete, but similar operations were proceeding across the galaxy. Earth's great work of editing reality would continue until only peace remained in the distance. A new star began to shine where the Zephyrian home world had once existed.